Hello, today we will begin covering Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is about systems of equations. So our first lesson is lesson 3.1. This is solving systems by graphing. Now it's basically what we did last chapter when we had to graph lines, but this time you just graph two lines on the same graph and solve for the solution. And the solution is the point of intersection. Or where the two lines cross each other. It'll be in a coordinate answer x, y. Okay? Now on all of these, our intersection will be something like that I like to call a pretty point. That's just where they are non-decimal or fraction numbers, intersection point. A non-pretty point we have to do a little bit more work to solve for, but it's not too bad. We don't have to worry about that this lesson, but that is something that could happen. So we are going to start by simply graphing these two lines. I know for this first line I'm going to do it in blue. My y-intercept is at 8, and my slope is -4, so I'm going to fall 4, run 1, fall 4, run 1. I'll go one more, fall 4, run 1. And I can draw in my line from there. Okay, pretty easy. Just graph that line. The second line we graph is 2/3 x minus 6, so minus 6 is my y-intercept. Rise 2, run 3 positive. And we have the graph of our line in red. I'm not the best at drawing these lines. There we go, that's better. So you'll notice they have a point of intersection. It's what I would call a pretty point. So our solution to this problem is simply the intersection 3, -4. That is the name of that intersection. That's our answer. Okay? So we will go ahead, continue to the next one. They get slightly different. The only difference to these is we have to solve for y on a couple of them. So I need to solve for y here. -8x plus y equals -8. So I add a x to both sides. I end up getting y equals 8x minus 8. Because these guys are not like terms, I don't get 0 or something. They just come down beside each other. Okay? So now I need to graph this purple line with a y-intercept of -8 and slope of 8/1. So I'm going to graph him. See, that one worked pretty good. And then I also need to graph my second line so I can find that point of intersection. So once again, my y-intercept is -8. My slope this time is -3/2, so I'm going to rise 3, but then run to the left 2. That'll give me a negative slope. And then draw in my line. Close enough. I know my point of intersection is right here, so our actual solution to this graph is where they both cross, and that is 0, -8. Right there. Okay? Hopefully we're so far so good. Once again, this first problem here, we do need to solve for y. So I'm going to rewrite it and then solve my equation for y. That way I can graph it easier, so I'll subtract 20x on both sides. I get negative 5y equals negative 20x minus 15. We divide by negative 5 on all terms. And we get y equals 4x plus 3 because I reduced, okay? So I'm going to graph this line. My y-intercept is 3. My slope is 4 over 1. I plot those guys. I draw in my line. Close enough. And then I go ahead and plot my second line. Now what do you notice here? Oh, so you probably noticed that these are actually the same equation, right? So you could plot it again. Draw it over. I don't like that. And you'll see that these are actually the exact same line. So, instead of having a specific point as your point of intersection in your solution, when they are the same line, we have infinite solutions. All of the solutions on that line satisfy both lines. So we have infinitely many solutions. This next one. Once again, notice this top equation is not already solved for y. So we will solve for y by subtracting 2x on both sides. We get y equals negative 2x plus 4. And then I'm going to graph him. My y-intercept is 4. My slope is negative 2 over 1. Make sure I graph it negative. Draw in my line here. That's pretty close. And then I graph my other line. The y-intercept is negative 1. The slope is also negative 2 over 1. I go ahead and draw in my line for this one. There we go. And what do we notice about the slopes of these lines? Well, they're the same. So these lines are parallel. And parallel lines never intersect. So, because they're parallel lines, there is no solution. There is no point of intersection. Alrighty, that's it for 3.1. Solving systems by graphing. Go ahead and work on the 3.1 Math Excel. Have a great afternoon.